Good afternoon, Chair Jones, Commissioner, staff, and all else present. It is 7 p.m. and I have started the meeting.
Thank you, Madam Secretary. I'm calling this meeting to order. Can you please call roll?
Yes. Commissioner Brissett,
Present.
Commissioner Menthe,
Present.
Commissioner Carter is absent, as well as Vice Chair Wellman.
Brissett, would you please lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance?
One nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Do we have any comments for items not on the agenda?
Yes, we have two speakers, Chair.
3 minutes each, please.
Okay. Our first speaker is John Carr.
Good afternoon. I'm here to address the proposed development at 5700 Hannum.
Sorry, just to be clear, so yeah, you
That's
sounded
on the
surprised.
agenda, isn't it?
Yeah,
That's what I thought.
we'll make sure we hear from you later. Thank you.
I have a question. You signed up for A1 as well. Would you like to speak on that one? That's when we changed chair and vice chair.
57?
No, this is another item for A1. It's just PH1. You signed up for PH1? Okay.
So is that for 57?
Thank you.
We're good.
Let's move to the next speaker.
Yes. Our next speaker is Kathy Carr.
Probably same thing.
Okay. So we do not have any additional speakers, Chair.
Thank you. Could I please have a motion for receipt and filing of correspondence?
Thank you. Moved by Commissioner Menthe, second by Commissioner Brissett. Please vote. Commissioner Brissett? Thank you. Motion passes with 3 ayes.
Great. There's nothing on the consent calendar. So we'll move on to public hearings. PH1, consideration of a comprehensive plan, density and other bonus incentives, zone code map amendment, general plan map amendment, extended construction hours request, and environmental impact report to allow development of a mixed-use residential and commercial project on an approximately 2.23 acre site located at 5700 Hannum Avenue. Could we please have a staff report?
Good evening, Chair Jones, commissioners and community members here and watching from home. My name is Jose Mendeville, Associate Planner in the current Planning Division, and I am the case manager for this project. Tonight I will present the proposed 5700 Hannum mixed-use project, and we'll go over the project description, the entitlements, the map amendments, the comprehensive plan, the density bonus, and the project EIR. The applicant's presentation will follow. City staff and ESA, the CEQA consultant for the city, are here to answer questions, and we thank the Planning Commission in advance for your input. The project is a 6-story, 78-foot-high building with 309 residential units, including 27 very low-income units. The project provides both vehicle and bicycle parking, a small commercial space, and open space for the general public on the ground floor fronting Hannum Avenue, as well as decks, balconies, and patios for project residents. The process began in late 2022, and one of the first steps was a community meeting. The applicant will be discussing this in their presentation, but here is a list of project and EIR-related community meetings. This community input was used to refine the project's design, required submittals, and the EIR. The project application involves multiple entitlements, which require approval by the City Council after a recommendation by the Planning Commission. The entitlements include certification of the project's environmental impact report per the California Environmental Quality Act, or CEQA, amendments to the land use and zoning designations in the general plan and zoning maps to allow the project as proposed, a comprehensive plan and density increase to allow the proposed specific development standards, allowed uses and number of units, and the extension of construction hours to allow work hours outside of code limits and shorten the construction period by 2 months. Currently, the project's general plan land use designations, land use and zoning designations do not allow residential uses. In order to allow housing, the project requires a land use designation change from regional center to general corridor. The general corridor land use designation supports housing through commercial zones that permit mixed use. Because the site is large and there is an opportunity to create a special zoning district outside of the commercial zones allowed under the general corridor land use designation, the project is proposing what's called a planned development. A planned development, or PD zone, creates a unique standard that better fits the site. There are currently 17 planned development, or PD zone, areas in the city, and if this project is approved, it will be zoned PD 18. Further, the preferred land use map in the city's adopted and certified housing element designates the project site as mixed-use high with a density of 100 dwelling units per acre. The draft general plan land use element also calls for the project to be mixed-use high with 100 dwelling units per acre. So after the adoption of the new general plan and zoning code effective this October, the project site and surrounding area will be changing to higher densities, making the PD 18 density consistent. A comprehensive plan is the zoning entitlement that creates the PD zone. It provides the development standards and allowed land uses for the PD zone. Each of the existing 17 PD zone developments has a unique comprehensive plan. Attachment number 6 to the staff report contains the draft comprehensive plan for PD 18. A quick summary of PD 18 standards include a building height of 6 stories and 78 feet, north, south, and east street-facing setbacks of 0 feet at grade or at ground level and 5 feet above, and no setback requirement for the west or interior property line. The allowed uses include office, restaurant, retail, and personal services like hair or nail salons, and of course, residential uses. Also, I want to correct a mistake in the staff report. The PD 18 zone is providing the zoning code required 40% EV parking spaces. That's 10% EV charging, 10% EV ready, and 20% EV capable. At 40%, the minimum number of EV spaces is 172, and the project proposes 174 EV spaces. Page 50 of the comprehensive plan shows the breakdown of spaces in detail. The project's base density is 100 dwelling units per acre, which is based on the city's adopted and certified housing elements preferred density for this site. At this density, there are 223 base units, and under state density law, the city must grant a 38.75% density increase, or 87 units, because the development is providing at least 12% of the 223 as very low income. The applicant is requesting 86 units as opposed to the 87 for a total of 309 units. Because of these percentages, the city must grant 2 concessions or incentives if requested. The applicant is only requesting one 78-foot tall structure as opposed to a 56-foot tall structure. State density law requires the city bear the burden of proof and provide written findings based upon substantial evidence that a concession is not needed. Height is listed in state density law as a development standard that can be waived, and staff recommends the concession be granted. Pursuant to CEQA, an initial study was prepared for the project. It determined that several environmental factors were impacted and further study was needed. Draft and final EIRs were completed for the project. See attachment number 7 of this agenda item for these 2 environmental reports that together form the environmental documentation for this project. Within the final EIR, a mitigation monitoring and reporting program, also known as an MMRP, is included that lists all the environmental impacts that required further study and the mitigations that reduce their impacts. The resolution approving the comprehensive plan contains project conditions of approval, including a condition that requires the applicant complete all mitigations in the monitoring report. One environmental impact was determined to not be mitigatable if an extended hours request is not approved: on-site construction noise for activity beginning at 7 a.m., which is before the code-allowed start time. As required by CEQA, the EIR studied the project as described, including the early start time of 7 a.m., because that shortens construction time by 2 months. Although the project includes a request for extended hours, to be safe, as was done with a previous project, the EIR factors in a scenario where the extended hours are not granted, which then requires a statement of overriding consideration. With the city approval of extended hours, there is no impact. Mike Harden of ESA, the city CEQA consultant, is here to answer CEQA-related questions. In conclusion, staff recommends that the Planning Commission recommend the City Council approve the project with all requests and environmental determinations as conditioned. This would include certification of the EIR, including the mitigation monitoring and reporting program, approval of the comprehensive plan, density bonus, general plan map amendment, zoning code map amendment, thereby creating PD 18, and the granting of an extended construction hours. Thank you. That concludes our presentation. The staff is available for any questions.
Thank you. Are there any clarifying questions before we hear from the applicant?
I'm ready to hear from the applicant.
Okay. Then could I please have a motion to open the public hearing? Or I don't need a motion to open the public hearing. I just open it? Sorry. Motion? Okay. Could I have a motion to open the public hearing, please?
Thank you. Motion passes with, moved by Commissioner Brissette, seconded by Commissioner Mente. Please vote. Thank you. Motion passes with 3 ayes.
Thank you. First, we'll hear from the applicant, please.
Probably pressed the wrong button.
Yeah.
if I had to. Okay, great. Excellent. Well, good evening. My name is Rob Kane. I'm Executive Vice President with Lincoln Property Company. It's great to be back in front of the Commission tonight. We are very proud of our long and positive association with Culver City. Our projects really go back almost a decade here in Culver City. Just a couple that we wanted to touch on include the Apple Media Headquarters at 8777 Washington, the Scenic Arts Building, which was built at Sony Studios, and the 3855 Watseka Avenue office property. We are a very big believer and investor in Culver City. This is a very vibrant community, which is right here in the middle of Southern California. And with all of our projects, we believe in very robust community outreach and stakeholder engagement to ensure that we're meeting the standards and the needs of the community. We have met with the Planning Commission numerous times over the past few years, and we have heard your concerns. We understand that there's a growing need for housing, and we are committed to helping meet Culver City's housing goals. That's what we are here to do, and we believe that we've accomplished that with the 5700 Hannum project that is before you tonight. While we may be known for our office projects here in Culver City, Lincoln also has extensive experience developing residential and mixed-use projects throughout Southern California. One of the more recent projects that we're particularly proud of is 100 West Walnut, which you see on the slide. This is one of the largest projects ever completed in the city's Pasadena's history, and it really transformed an old surface parking lot next to Old Pasadena into a vibrant, residentially focused community. Tonight, we're here to share plans for a residential mixed-use project in the Fox Hills neighborhood at the intersection of Hannum and Buckingham. We are really proud of the project, which reflects feedback we've received during a very active community engagement process. And now we'd like to share more about the project, the incredible team we've assembled, and to do that, I'd like to introduce Stephen Lindgren, who's also with Lincoln Property, who's also the day-to-day project lead. Stephen?
Thanks, Rob. Good evening, members of the Planning Commission. First, I'd like to recognize the work by the planning team in the city. We greatly appreciate the assistance and technical expertise as the 5700 Hannum project has moved through the entitlement process. We're very proud of the very talented team that we've assembled for the 5700 Hannum project. The team has extensive experience in Culver City. Jonathan Watts with KFA Architecture is our lead architect. KFA's headquarters is located in Culver City, and Jonathan's completed numerous projects in and around this area. Drew Hild is a project partner with years of experience in Culver City and with Lincoln as well. Agency Artifact is our landscape architect. They're a true innovator. And we have always valued the local knowledge and great community outreach work by Jeff Mailman, a longtime partner of Lincoln's. We're also joined tonight by our Land Use Counsel, Spencer Calick from Allen Matkins. We're briefly going to share the features of the proposed 5700 project tonight, share details of the community engagement process and how we translated that feedback into our project design, and finally, a quick summary of our requested approvals. I'd now like to introduce Jonathan Watts of KFA Architecture. Many of you know Jonathan. His firm has been very active in the Culver City marketplace, including the design in the Shea and the Upper Ivy residences. Jonathan?
Thank you, Stephen. Good evening, commissioners. Yes, KFA, their office is up there in the top right. We're in the Hayden tract and love being in Culver City. We finished the Harlow, which is actually just outside of Culver City, and the Shea and the Upper Ivy, which is the residential project here in Culver City, and are working on several other projects in the city. So the proposed project sits on a site that's 2.23 acres on the corner of Buckingham and Hannum. It has quite a slope across the site from north to south, which we had to deal with. It's about 25 feet high along the Buckingham side, and on the rear side is a fire lane. The eastern edge is about 50 feet wide at the moment and has a big berm on it. Here's an aerial of the site. You probably all know it. The site, as I said, Hannum on the north and Buckingham curves around to the south. We're across the road from several 5-story office buildings and parking structures, and of course the 11-story TikTok headquarters at the corner of Hannum and Bristol. Residential buildings over to the east of different sizes. And one of the challenges of this site is to make it feel part of this burgeoning residential community of Fox Hills. As Jose said, the housing element has changed the designation of the site to mixed-use high, and that was adopted last year in October, and the state has found the housing element to be in full compliance. So just looking at the project, this is the overall design of the project that's seen from the corner of Hannum and Buckingham. We're trying to really accommodate that slope going down to the left and I'll show you other images of that in a minute, by sort of creating stoop-type units. This is all about creating this really good pedestrian experience, retail on Hannum and a large setback on Hannum with Landscape Plaza. So just by the numbers, the total number of units, as you've probably seen in your packets, is 309, 428 vehicle parking, 27 units set aside exclusively for very low income households. The retail is 5,600 feet, and the project will provide 92 bicycle spaces that I'll talk about a little bit more in a moment, and 42 electric vehicle charging stations. So as I said, really, the foundation of the project is a pedestrian experience and trying to change the vibe a little bit along this part of Fox Hills. And so we started off with the idea at the corner is a really nice cafe space with outdoor seating. And I think these spaces are really important to actually have them used and get the pedestrian feeling along there. So you'll see the landscaping sort of separating to give a little privacy and also some beauty to the edge of what is a fairly busy street. This is looking from the other side along Hannam. And again, emphasizing the pedestrian experience, setting the building back 30 or 40 feet from the edge of the street. And you see looking in there to the lobby and having that be a fairly transparent space. And then beyond that are other amenities. And then you see the retail space in the distance. So I think, this is something that doesn't really exist in this neighborhood at the moment. This is the ground floor looking up Buckingham, up the slope, and you see, a very different feeling than is there at the moment, where it's really becoming a true street edge with 9 two-story townhomes on the south end and then single-level units mid-block. And again, set back far enough that we've got some really lush landscaping opportunities and stoops and, sort of front porch idea up steps. This is a little hard to see, but it's supposed to show how we've dealt with circulation and access to the site. So the parking is pushed as far west on Hannam as we could get it. So it sort of occupies it in that corner. And then you come down to where the lobby is accessible, pedestrian entrances, landscaping, providing the privacy and a lovely place to sit. And then coming around the corner, access to, it looks like a swimming pool on this drawing, that's the top deck, but the retail on the ground floor. And then we marked out where the bike parking is, because there are bike parking on different levels of the project, so it's relatively easily accessible if you take your bike out to come in 2 or 3 different entrances all along Buckingham, and then a secondary parking entrance halfway down the Buckingham side of the project. Okay, at this point, I'll pass it back to Stephen.
Thanks, Jonathan. Yeah, I'd like to share some highlights of our team's ongoing engagement with the community. We kicked off the effort with an online community meeting in December of 2022. It was attended by nearly 100 neighbors. We also held an in-person community meeting in July of last year. About 100 neighbors attended that meeting as well. The scoping meeting was held online in September, and the DEIR meeting was on April 30th. We held dozens of other meetings, either with individual neighbors or small groups, on a regular basis as well. We wanted as much feedback as we could get. We also launched a website at the beginning of the process to share information with the community about the project, the city's review and approval process, as well as background on the team. We listened intently. Neighbors raised questions about traffic, parking, and height. Our transportation analysis concludes that the project would not have a significant VMT impact, nor would it change the existing level of service for relevant intersections. On parking, we are providing a significant amount to ensure there's more than enough capacity on site for both residential and retail uses. The project also requests additional height per state density bonus incentives, which fits within the existing uses in the area. Following our community outreach, we implemented design features reflecting the feedback we received. We accommodated for the planned bike lane on Buckingham to increase connectivity to the neighborhood and Pocket Park. We created a plan that would benefit not just residents of the building, but also the entire community through providing retail and open space for public use. We incorporated ground floor units with front doors on the street level to make the space feel more residential. We have also engaged in dialogue about construction noise. We have extensive experience in the built environment like Culver City and look forward to working with the neighbors throughout the process. We received positive feedback on extending the hours of construction in order to reduce the overall length of construction. And there was quite a bit of interest in the affordable housing component as well, both the amount being offered and the income levels. We shared details of the plan, including the state density program that we're following. We also heard from many enthusiastic neighbors who are looking forward to a change of use at this site. They're particularly focused on improved walkability, the addition of neighborhood retail, which is in short supply, and the safety benefits of activating the street. To wrap up, I'd like to ask Spencer to walk through the requests and entitlements. Spencer?
Good evening, Commissioners. Spencer Calick. Nice to see all of you with Alan Matkins on behalf of the applicant. To move forward with this project, we're requesting these 5 entitlements. And as noted earlier, the property's preferred designation under the already adopted, already certified 2021-2029 housing element is mixed use high, meaning that after careful consideration, lots of public input, lots of public hearings, the city has already decided that a development of similar type and size as the project is appropriate on this site. Thus, the first 3 requested entitlements, the zone change, general plan amendment, and comprehensive plan adoption, are simply needed in order to effectuate the city's desired use for the property. The project is requesting increased height under the state density bonus law, and this enables us to provide those 27 very low-income affordable housing units to benefit the community. As Stephen mentioned, we are requesting a permit for increased hours of construction so that the project can be completed as quickly as possible. We can get those housing units built and up and running as quickly as possible. In conclusion, we want to thank you very much for the time that you have afforded us tonight. We are very proud, and I mean very proud, to be before you. It's been a long process to get to this evening. We've worked very collaboratively with staff, with the city family, and with the community. And we believe that this is a great project that will bring much needed housing to Culver City. And we are here to take questions and look forward to your input tonight. Thank you.
Thank you for the presentation. Do we have clarifying questions? Commissioner Brissett? For either staff or the applicant.
I did have one thing for staff. Is there a summary of the community benefits somewhere that I can read?
This project doesn't have community benefits.
Are there in lieu fees, though?
Oh, you mean if you look at attachment number 5,
Yep.
if you look at the second page, it says estimated development fees.
Oh, I see it. Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And all the affordable units are exempt from those fees.
Thank you. Nothing more for me.
Thanks. Commissioner Menti?
Well, I think I will have some questions, but I would love to hear from the public first. That always, I think, helps.
Great, yeah. Yeah, let's move to public comment, please.
Chair, we have 16 speakers registered so far.
Great, let's give everybody 3 minutes each, please.
All right, I will read the first 5 speakers registered so everybody's prepared and they know that they are coming up. Our first speaker is Laura Machette, Marco Icardo, Brandon Chung, Barbara Efros, and Judy Sherman. I'm going to call Laura Machette. Can you help me unmute them? Laura, you're unmuted?
Yep, can you hear me?
Yes,
Hello?
please go ahead.
Sweet. Hi, I live in Fox Hills, 1 block away from the proposed project site, and I support the planned mixed-use development there because I want more first-floor retail in this neighborhood. I think living in Fox Hills kind of sucks. If I want to walk to food or groceries, I got to walk a mile down the hill and across a huge parking lot. I feel like I'm going to die going to get anything to eat at the mall. I get around with a bicycle, so I super feel like I'm going to die in some places around here. And I'm pretty sick of living in a neighborhood that has these really ancient debunked theories about how food and shopping and healthcare and other essential parts of life should be mixed into neighborhoods. And when I heard that they were planning first floor retail for this project, I was all for it. A lot of younger people like me want walkable modern neighborhoods, And if I could snap my fingers and put coffee shops and restaurants and corner stores and doctors' offices in the ground floor of every building on Canterbury, I absolutely would. So I'm excited to see anything at all in this area that's going to make my life easier and nicer to live. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next speaker is Marco Icardo. Marco?
Yeah, hi, can everyone hear me?
Yes, go ahead, please.
Yeah, good evening. So my name is Marco Ricardo. I'm the CFO and COO of Nadel. So Nadel is a branded merchandise supplier. We were established in 1953. We have over 300 employees globally. So we own the property located at 5820 Uplander Way, which is just a block away from the proposed development. And we purchased our building in August of 2021 and undertook extensive renovations over probably about 18 months. It was a significant investment for us, but it was crucial for us to kind of create a beautiful and comfortable headquarter for our employees to work in and, for our clients and vendors to visit. So I'm here today just to simply express our support, my support for the project at 57 Hannum. We believe our employees would benefit from having more new, fresh housing options within walking distance of our office. We love the idea of having retail spaces on the ground floor, another cafe or food option, and that park light setting that I just saw. Maybe our employees can enjoy some fresh air there as well. Would be awesome. And I'm personally excited that Lincoln Properties is behind this development. I mean, we trust it'll be done the right way with taste and quality. Their emphasis on the eco-friendliness resonates with us, and we've installed, charging stations ourselves, and on our property, we've invested, $250,000 on solar energy. So we understand that this is the first kind of redevelopment in the Fox Hills for a while, but we hope this development will kickstart interest from others like Lincoln, so we can kind of continue to improve our community here in Fox Hills. So that's it for me. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Our next speaker is Brendan Chung.
Can you hear me?
Yes, go ahead, please.
Oh, great. So I've lived in the Fox Hills neighborhood for about 2 decades. I really like where I live, and I'd love for this development to happen. I really highly value having a walkable neighborhood. I really highly value having a restaurant or a cafe I can pop by without having to ride my bike or drive my car. My wife and I often ride our bikes to downtown Culver City, and I think the plaza there really demonstrates how nice it is to have a place to hang out, to meet your friends, relax, have a meal, have a snack, be a place to go to. I think cities can and should be something for people to live in and enjoy, and I think this would be a really great public amenity. And thank you for your time.
Thank you. Our next speaker is Barbara Efros. We do not see her registered online, not in person. We could skip over her and come back at the end. So our next speaker will be Judy Sherman.
Good evening, members of the Planning Commission. We just heard the marketing from the company. I'm a long-term resident of Fox Hills and part of the Fox Hill Neighborhood Association Board for many years. Specifically, the EIR did not include in their cumulative impact report the impact that the other 2 developments being planned a block away will be having. So it really makes the EIR pretty meaningless. We are talking about another 1,396 units planned on Upland Way. The only ones who are benefiting from this report, and I know they know how to write a report, they can probably do it in their sleep, are the professional report writers. To say that the natural breezes to our current residential area would not be affected is inaccurate due to this lack of meaningful cumulative impact assessment. To be real, it takes 2 brain cells that occasionally bump together to realize that with these developments with 6 stories height, breezes will be blocked, and the residents rely on natural breezings to cool their apartments. We do not have capacity for central air. It would be a stretch to trust the city actually to do any kind of thing in terms of scientific study. I think just use a little common sense, and you realize that this would really block with all these massive developments. You need to recommend that this EIR is inadequate, and to tell the sitting city council to get real with the Fox Hill community and decrease the density designation on the south side of Slauson. It's not about being against housing, it's the density, 100 units per acre. They have known about this concern since last year and have remained silent. Why the silence? Are they being told to keep quiet? Or are they too busy with issues which have far less impact for the future of Culver City, like the meeting times taken up discussing digital kiosks? The city is planning to have some sort of special plan for Fox Hills, a little backwards to have it after they made this area high density for developers. Keep in mind also that these developers knew full well that the general plan has not been adopted as yet and is still their choice to make the plans to build anyway. The 100 units per acre density designation for the south side of Slauson has got to go. The city knew that developers would flock to this area, and well they are, with most likely more to come due to this density designation. The general plan has not yet been adopted, and the land use element needs to change so that the 3,341 housing units Culver City must plan for is distributed in an equitable way across the city. Every level of governance, and I don't know how many times I've said this, has known for years about our concerns with parking, traffic, etc. And it's obvious that this developer, along with two others, are going to exacerbate this project, this situation. For the city planners to say that there are other areas.
Your time is up.
Time is up.
Thank you. Our next 5 speakers are Cindy Haas, Sharon Levine, John Carr, Kathy Carr, and David Cairo. We'll call Cindy Haas. Cindy, you are unmuted. Cindy, you may go ahead. Chair, can I skip her and bring her back at the end?
Sure.
The end? Okay,
Yeah.
thank you. So I will next call Sharon Levine. We do not see her registered, and I can also come back to her at the end. Our next speaker is John Carr.
Good evening, members of the Planning Commission. Thank you for allowing me to speak. I appreciate the development. It is remarkable, although it's in the wrong area. It's a beautiful development, but it's totally out of kilter with the surrounding community. The predominant amount of people that live in Fox Hills are homeowners, condo owners. There are renters. And what I'm most concerned with is the safety issue that we're going to run into, because it doesn't take a rocket scientist to look at Slauson in the afternoon. It's a parking lot. If we develop this area as the developer would like, and the following subsequent developments that would follow, nobody would be able to get in and out of that area. Hannum would become Slauson's traffic would move over to Hannum, Hannum's traffic would move over to Buckingham. And then you'd have people getting into Canterbury trying to get shortcuts. I remember probably about 4 or 5 years ago, they had construction on Slauson. I could not get into Buckingham off of Green Valley Circle. So it's a real concern to us. And not only that, the culture of the neighborhood is going to drastically change. I agree, walkable cities are, the thing of the future, and I walk around that area all the time. But let's face facts. This is Los Angeles. How many people are going to be at that cafe before it's jam-packed and you're not going to be able to pop in and out? Most of the time, the residents are going to be using it. And besides that, it's going to draw people from the mall. So you're going to have an increase of people coming from the mall. That transitory kind of communication between the mall and this area is just going to clog this area up with traffic even more. So what I'd like to see is less density, absolutely. And as someone who's been in the construction industry since 1984, I know working 7 days a week and hauling all of that dirt and driving piles, noise, traffic, et cetera, is going to be a nightmare for the residents. 2 months is not worth the amount of noise we're going to suffer.
Time is up.
Thank you.
Thank you. Our next speaker is Kathy Carr.
Good afternoon, Planning Committee. My concerns is, I've heard one comment made by someone about the restaurant that's going to be put there at this facility. They have some trees for some privacy, so that people will have some privacy. But what about the homeowners across the street? There's no privacy for us, because with this big high-rise monstrosity, people be able to look directly into our home. Another concern I have is if you move forward with this, I haven't heard any mention of, will there be Culver City Police hired? How many more to support this area with all these additional people here? Or the firemen, it's going to be impacted also. Not to mention the traffic once again, it's a nightmare. And if this moves forward, you're mentioning hurrying up, pushing this through 2 months earlier, and that's going to impact our lives. And you mentioned something like 7 a.m. starting time. What is the cutoff time? What time will the work be finished? Start at 7 in the morning? What time will it end? Are we talking about 7 days a week or what? Nobody mentioned any of this, and this will impact our lives with the noise pollution. And if they move forward with this, I think you should supply the homeowners with double pane window for our homes to knock out this noise pollution that's going to happen. Besides the fact that our streets could be damaged with all this construction, you're trying to drive, getting nails stuck in your tire, running your tires, you know? And it's really going to change our lives with this area already being impacted as it is. So thank you very much.
Thank you. Our next speaker is David Cairo.
Hello, Planning Commission. I live and work in Culver City. I've lived in Fox Hills for the past 19 years in Buckingham, and this is concerning because Fox Hills is already the most dense residential area of Culver City, and having all these additional buildings would definitely impact the traffic. Disproportionate influx of people not only increase traffic, create standstill in Hannum, which was already mentioned by the others, but the air pollution. In addition, having the larger building complexes, this will block the natural wind corridors, because in our area, we have pockets of natural cooling and wind systems, so I'm not sure if this was addressed in the environmental impact. So we're concerned about having the housing in this area. There are other places north of Slauson that could potentially be used for the similar development, because it is something that's concerning for us. And we understand the need for housing, we understand the need for higher density, but not just in that area. Hannum and Buckingham is probably one of the most impactful regarding traffic. Thank you.
Thank you. I will read out the next 5 speakers, so you are prepared. Angelica Kishnick. We do not see Angelica registered to speak, so we'll skip her and go on to the next speaker. Now I will call on Richard Singerman. Richard, you are unmuted. Go ahead, please.
Oh, hi. Thank you. This is Dr. Richard Singerman. Thank you very much. My family has owned in the area on 5950 Canterbury since 1978. It's a lovely neighborhood. A few things that really come to mind. There are 300 units in our condo. There are two parking places per unit. Every single one is full. We still have signs up on our mailboxes requesting if anyone else has extra parking. So if you don't have at least 2 parking places per unit, you're vastly under providing parking. And essentially, there's almost no place to park on the street when you have guests come and contractors come. So it's completely insufficient. So as far as bicycles, we have a few hundred bicycles easily in the unit, more than 300. So you really, and families often have, let's say, 2 bikes and let's say 1 for their kids. So you're talking about 2 to 3 bikes per unit is what people really have. So 92 bike places just doesn't cut it. I love the street, the idea of the street accessibility and vibrance. That's starting to look like Playa Vista, which was all planned and looks all consistent. But the complex really that you guys, the plan you've shown, looks much more like the high-tech buildings across the street. And you can almost imagine in this era when many office buildings are actually being undersubscribed and there are projects underway to convert office building to residential. I would suggest take advantage of those. This almost looks like something that should be in the building on the same side of the street as TikTok, because it would kind of look like that building, as opposed to what another person said earlier. The building really is uncharacteristic of the neighborhood. We have, 2, 3-story buildings at most, townhomes. It's a calm neighborhood on the weekend. We don't want, construction on the weekend when you see mothers and dads and kids and dogs going to play at the park. And, they want that calm of the weekend that they've earned for working so hard. And finally, I couldn't agree more with, I've got other notices that have come to me about other developments a few blocks away. Same thing, massive underparking provided, and not a good concern. And we do get cars coming through here very quickly. I would strongly suggest speed bumps, multiple ones on each of the streets, whether it's Buckingham and Canterbury. We once in a while have people cruising down 50 miles an hour down a 20-mile-an-hour street, and we need a way to mitigate that. So there's some really exciting developments here, but also finally the wind, the breeze is very environmental. We don't have to use our air conditioning as much, and that size of the building really can impact things. So what I really want to know in the closing moments is how will you guys as a committee and a board take these comments into account so that we're just not heard, but we're actually something functionally is done. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next speaker is Joshua Bosman. He's here.
Hi, thank you. I don't have anything prepared specifically. I just want to say that I'm vehemently against this project for a lot of the reasons that were stated. It seems nice to have some places to eat, to have some coffee. In fact, there was something a couple years ago that was kind of proposed, like a mini downtown moving to where we are, which sounded nice, except now you're trying to shove here 300 units. Other people mentioned other units, other complexes that were and process 1,100 units. They're going to keep trying to continue to put more in here, which means, sure, you've got some nice shops, but then they're going to try and shove what? 1,300, 2,000, 2,300, 25, 3,000? Like, are we trying to cram all of the required, California's required units into Culver City in the already densest populated area, and now you're trying to make it more densely populated? It's just, it's not right for the existing people. Housing goals are good, but please don't continue to take advantage of the already historically taken advantage of area of Fox Hills. It happened before, and apparently it's happening again. I urge you not to grant any of the concessions that are requested. We already have enough people. If you're going to cram this shit down our throat, pardon my French, please don't make it even worse than it already is. We don't want the vibe changed. I like the vibe. It's a family area. We've got kids, right? It's really nice. It's quiet. Like, I used to live by a freeway. I used to live by Pico and Lincoln in Santa Monica, and then by a freeway by the 405. And I'm used to having this noise, this constant din. And I walk outside on my balcony, and it's quiet. I can hear birds. I can hear hawks. I can hear all kinds of animals. You allow this, and then the other projects that are going to come down the line, and it's just going to get loud again. You're going to have too many people. It's going to be horrible for traffic, like it's already been stated by other people. Traffic is already getting bad. It's just going to make it worse. Parking is already bad. Just going to make it worse. And we live in a nice place, and frankly, I like it, and I think it should stay how it is. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next speaker is Tom O'Neill.
Thank you, Commissioners. Imagine you're standing on your balcony, and instead of seeing trees and plants and sky, you're looking at a parking structure and a wall 7 stories high. What if you wanted to have friends or family over for Thanksgiving or Christmas or the Super Bowl or a Seder, but there's no place to park? What if you have a hot spell and the breezes that we now rely on for cooling in our complexes that were never designed for central air were blocked by 7-story buildings? For people who invested their life savings here, they did so for a reason, never with the expectation that things would never change, but with the hope that people who are supposed to be watching out for their best interest would do just that. And what if you build 1,000 or 3,000 units and no one comes? The state's mandate for increased housing was made just a few years ago, and in the last year alone, 1 million people have left California. We're in the middle of an out-migration that the once golden state has never seen before. This is not by accident. You can blame the cost of housing all you like, but that's not the only reason that people are leaving, especially young people and people with means. So down goes the birth rate, and down goes the revenue base. This is all avoidable. The crisis was man-made and one-party made. Through the abuse of EIRs, for decades, bureaucrats have stymied building all over the state. Now, when there's, quote, unquote, a crisis, planners are attempting to abuse those same EIRs to build where it is convenient for them. The people be damned. So who are your plans as the planning commissioner is designed to serve? The pockets of developers who can make a quick buck with the help of the state? Or is it the professional urban planners and advisors whose aim is to eliminate the internal combustion engine and the freedom of association and exploration that it has provided for decades? Whose dream is the 15-minute city and all the totalitarian impulses that it satisfies? Or is your aim to serve the people of Culver City and to facilitate their living their best life as they see fit, in and out of their cars, going where they want to go, when they want to go, riding a bike if they choose, walking a tree-lined path if they choose, or just sitting in the park if they choose? In the egalitarian world that we find ourselves, no leader should ask his people to make a sacrifice that he's not willing to make himself. Governor Gavin Newsom, who lives on an 8.2-acre estate, approximately the size of the 5757 project, with 6 bedrooms, 10 baths, pool, tennis court, jacuzzi, and wine cave. I suggest that the Planning Commission recommend to the governor that he build 1,000 affordable housing units on his own property in order to show solidarity with the people of California, and more specifically, the people of Fox Hills. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next speaker is Karima Bosman.
Hello. I had to simmer down. I was really kind of insulted by the vibe comment. I've heard a lot of our neighbors say how our neighborhood is like a hidden gem. It's quiet, there's families, there's a little parkette. I've even asked them to go sit at the park and see how our neighborhood actually operates. The building is nice looking, but it's on the wrong side of the street. And I remember a couple of years ago that the council came to us asking us about rejuvenating Fox Hills, but it wasn't where the residential is. And it only asked for restaurants and cafes and stuff, not apartment buildings. So I don't know what happened, the communication, what happened there. But I also mentioned at these community meetings is, what about the schools? You having that many units in the building, and then you got this other project coming too, there's more kids that's gonna flood into our schools. They're already over capacity. So more kids, what's gonna happen with the kids? Are they be able to go to the schools or not? Again, the project, it doesn't look like it's fitting our vibe in our neighborhood. It seems like it should be down here because that's where the young people are and that's where they want to be, downtown. It should be on the other side, like the Bristol side. That's businesses. I mean, I don't think it should be any more residents. It's just it's very dense. I don't have my family come over because it's always crowded. There's always no parking on the street. And if there's open houses, there's definitely no parking on the street. So thank you for listening. I'm glad I calmed down so I did not curse. So thank you.
Thank you. I will read out our next 5 speakers: Andrea Demarella Welchel, Barbara Efros, Jada Lyles, Joe Smith, and David Azzarello. I will now call on Andrea.
Good evening. I am a long-term homeowner in Fox Hills, 25 years, and like so many of the residents that have spoken before me, we've invested a lot in this community, and we take a lot of pride in this community. It has, it's always been peaceful and quiet, and just like other residents have spoken about, just the environment, the natural breeze that comes through, how all of that will be lost with this huge, structure that will replace all of our green space and completely change the culture and the environment. And I don't welcome this proposal. I like so many other residents, as you can see tonight, the majority of us are against this project. It will vastly change our way of life in this community. We already have challenges with parking, as that's been said, and I can't even imagine what 1,300 units will bring in terms of traffic, congestion. It's just, I'm deeply, deeply concerned. Having invested years and resources into this community, I do not want to see my community change in this way. It just completely changes our environment and our way of life as we know it. It's just it's not the right fit. It's not the right community for this project. It wouldn't even look right if you look at the existing structures and the existing buildings. It's not even a good fit. Fox Hills is very quaint looking. It has a certain look and feel that we would like to preserve. So, I mean, I could echo what I've heard tonight from so many other residents, and they were right on point. These are our concerns, and I really hope that it'll be taken into consideration. And I would like to know, there were some questions posed tonight by two other residents. Will we get answers tonight? Is someone writing down these questions? Because I would like to know, have they thought about, what are we dealing with in terms of construction times? I know they mentioned what time it'll start, what time will it end? And there's a host
Time
of
is up. Thank you. Our next speaker is Barbara Efros. She did not join. She signed up, but she did not join. So I will skip her to the next speaker. Our next speaker is Jada Lyles.
Living in Fox Hills pretty much my whole life, and as someone who has inherited the condo from my family, I'm in my 20s. I'm not in favor of this project. I feel that the same way everyone else, the majority seems to feel in terms of the parking situation. I can't overstate how bad it is. The traffic on Slauson is backed up for 2 hours every single day, which backs up Buckingham and all the other streets. So adding in 1,000 more residential units is just going to make that 10 times worse. And it is a very family-friendly, dog-friendly community. And we already have issues with people not cleaning up after their dogs. There's already starting to become issues with trash and litter. I can't imagine what having more people is going to do environmentally with that. And the noise complaints is very quiet here. I like the quiet here. The park, I appreciate how Fox Hills has maintained its culture, its vibe. I like the people here. I'm not in favor of this proposal. And the same concerns that the majority have, I have as well. One of the earlier comments about how young people are in favor, not all of us are. A lot of the young people that live here that I've talked to are not in favor. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next speaker is Joe Smith. We do not see Joe Smith registered to speak, so we'll skip him and call David Azzarello. Go ahead, David.
Can you hear me?
Yes, go ahead, please.
Thank you for taking my questions or listening to my statements. I can't agree with Joshua and Tom and the woman before me any more than about the traffic issues that are going to happen. You're already talking about units in Fox Hills where one-bedroom units have 2 cars per unit. You're looking at adding in 280-something units with only 428 spots, including retail spots. The reality is it's going to put probably in the neighborhood of 600 cars, perhaps, in an already dense area. We have weekend soccer in the park, cannot find parking on any weekend that there's soccer playing. You have any big weekend when it comes to any kind of holiday, the park is very congested and there is no parking. Additionally, we're already over-densifying an extremely dense area. There are other areas in Culver City that should be developed before this one gets 1,000 units. And this complex is just going to break the seal to it. When the owner of Nadal said it was great to bring retail into that area, that's great for people that work in the area that don't live there because then they are walking distance. That comment from that gentleman is great for his company, but it's not good for the residents in this area. The traffic, the parking, the noise, construction work should never be 7 days a week, 7 to 7. The weekends need to be shut down. That only benefits the contractor. All they're looking to do is get it done as fast as possible for as cheaply as possible. They may pay a little bit more to get it done in a shorter period of time, but it'll actually save them money in the long run. It really needs to be how many units can you put into this area without greatly affecting the total density? And 100 units per acre is ridiculous. Whoever took that vote and said yes, I say that we need to figure out who those people are and vote them out of office, because apparently they're being either incentivized by the contractors that are and the developers that are putting this in, or they don't want it in their area, so they're voting into the area that's least that has the least impact. It has the least amount of resources to actually come up and combat this. This wouldn't happen in the Farragut area, wouldn't happen in the El Marino area. So you're going to pick on Fox Hills. I think it's really unfair, and I think it needs to stop. Thank you for letting me speak.
Thank you. Our last three speakers are Cindy Haas, Sharon Levine, and Angelica Kishnick. I will call on Cindy Haas.
Thank you.
Go ahead, Cindy, you are unmuted. Cindy, can you hear us? She's not responding, Chair, so I'll skip on to the next speaker. Our next speaker is Sharon Levine. She's not registered as well. And our last speaker is Angelica Kishnick. And she did not register. So that is the end of our speakers, Chair.
Thank you. Thank you for all the comments. Before we get to our substantive comments now, are there any, and we'll keep the public hearing open in case there are questions for the applicant, but Commissioner Brissett, do you have any clarifying questions for staff or the applicant? I know you've already asked some, but if anything else came up, you want to ask staff or the applicant before we get into our substantive comments.
I did have a question about for the applicant, the commercial parking, is there reserved spots for the commercial, or is it open?
Yes, Commissioner Brissett, there are 23 commercial spaces that are reserved for the commercial uses.
Thank you. That's it from me.
Okay, Commissioner Menti?
I've got a few questions for the applicant, so I'm not sure which one is going to go up for that, but let me start by asking, how did you determine the number of parking spaces that you were going to build, keeping in mind that since we don't have a parking minimum anymore, it's essentially up to the developer to make a proposal?
Yeah, it's a good question, and one our team spent a lot of time thinking through. The community has voiced concerns about the neighborhood street parking as being an important amenity for the overall community. So providing ample parking for both of our residents and our potential retail patrons is very important to us. We decided to go with one parking stall per bedroom, and following the code required for the retail parking.
And one per bedroom, I was just trying to look it up here. How many of these are one-bedroom studio units versus larger?
So there are, the unit mix is 39 studios, 180 one-bedrooms, and 92 bedrooms.
Thank you. Now, am I correct that right now there is street parking along, along Buckingham? And there's when I saw the drawing, thank you, I did get to meet with the applicant separately, which was helpful. It's how I get to ask what I call these dumb questions, like where are things and what color are they? The drawings had a bike lane there. That's proposed, but not yet. That's your understanding?
Correct.
And that would remove the street parking on Buckingham? No?
It would still maintain the street.
It would. Okay, thank you. And a question was asked about the extended hours. I understand it's going to start at 7, that's the request. Is there a request to lengthen it in the evening?
No, just asking for 1 hour, to start 1 hour earlier in the morning.
Okay, so otherwise to code.
Correct.
Is there, does staff have a different answer?
Oh, no, I just would like to clarify, have the applicant clarify the extended hours on the weekends, because the hours do change. On Saturday, start time is 9, and on Sunday, start time is 10. Also, to clarify that the end time for these extended hours do not go beyond what the code allows. So if the applicant can just confirm about the 7 to 9 on Saturdays and 7 to 10 on Sundays.
Correct, yes, 7 to 9, yes, correct.
And just to clarify as well, it's not intended for the entirety of construction. It's just intended for, frankly, some of the more intense times in the beginning, the earthwork, shoring, excavation, concrete pours, and tower crane erection and dismantling. And candidly, the only reason that we want to do it is to frankly deliver these units faster to the community. I know that the city has a tremendous need for housing, and we're very aware of that. And the faster that we can build, the faster we can have residents in those units.
Can I just clarify there? Is you said it's not intended to be for the full-time. Is the request for the extension for the full-time? No, it's not? Okay. Thank you. Do you have further questions, Commissioner Mehdi?
I'm just confirming that all right, those are my questions, thank you.
Great. I'll start with applicant because I just have, well, so on the hours, some of the commenters were asking about them. I know there was in the materials that were attached, but I mean, there was thousands of pages attached. It would be nice, I think, if you could send them to people now. I don't know if you'd be willing to do that. I know you do other kind of noticing, but if there are folks in the audience right now, I think that are kind of curious about that, folks who are online, it would be nice to be able to give that to them. I would read it out, but I feel like having the paper or the email or whatever would be useful.
Sure, Commissioner, I think what you're referring to is the resolution on the extended hours, construction hours, which was the resolution that was attached to the staff report. I know not everyone's as facile with the city systems, but resolution 2024 P006 that lays out the specific extended hours request. It was also what was analyzed in the draft EIR that was publicly circulated as well.
Right, and I think that actually, for me, attachment number 10, the request itself was the most informative because it was kind of lays it out and the reasons and everything, and it was in detail. But yeah. Okay, thank you. I appreciate your explanation. I have a couple of questions for staff, just kind of along the lines of some of the stuff that folks were asking with the public comments. This kind of trips into advanced planning, but how does the city address issues of increasing city staff needs, new first responders that are needed as population's increasing, if there are many more kids that need to be able to go to schools, how are those things addressed? I mean, obviously we're not addressing them tonight, but people are asking about them tonight.
Good evening, Chair, members of the Commission. Mark Munzer, Planning and Development Director. Nice to be here this evening. Those decisions, I'll take a step back. So the City Council has asked us to look at a fiscal impact analysis of some potential zoning and land use changes that are associated with the general plan. That study is in process right now. So what that study ultimately will tell us is high level what the impacts are to city revenues and demands on city services, so that ultimately the community and the council can take that into consideration when they're considering these land use changes. That is partially addressed in the EIR, the Environmental Impact Report for the general plan, as to population increases and impacts to public services, which, can include public safety and other services. So part of it lives in that document. That document, which I was going to address at the end of the meeting, will be released to the public next Wednesday, July 17th. The draft EIR is presently available, but the final EIR. So it lives in a couple different places.
Okay, that's helpful, thank you. And I wanted to talk specifically maybe about, or ask specifically about traffic, because I know that like in this, the determination was that this didn't have a significant VMT impact. I know we've dealt with like office projects that are across from the street, because it's across the street from a train station, it is determined to have no significant VMT impact. So in terms of our review of those projects, there's no traffic impact, but in reality, these things have a traffic impact that, I mean, and not just new developments, but the economy has traffic impacts. The city has to deal with traffic going up, usually not going down, but dealing with traffic going up. How is that addressed over time? It's not your department, but maybe you could speak generally about how the city monitors and responds to those kinds of things more generally.
Well, the project traffic engineer is here to address those questions. I will say that as a standard for traffic studies, there's an additional 1% assumed increased traffic for projects that are unknown at the time that the traffic study memorandum of understanding is signed. So the two projects that were mentioned were not, one project had withdrawn its preliminary plan review. We don't know what that applicant or that property owner is going to do. The other project had not submitted yet for preliminary plan review, so we didn't know that there was going to be, we didn't know what that project would be either at the time that the traffic memorandum MOU was signed. However, there was a 1% assumed increase in traffic over time, and the traffic consultant can better describe that.
Okay.
And answer your questions.
Thank you. And to focus the question a little bit, I'm not as concerned about how people are getting in and out of this project, but the concern of a lot more people moving into this area, the big arteries becoming more and more packed during, like, how does the city handle that? If there are specifics to this project, I'm interested in that too. I know I don't want to get outside this agenda item, but they're just the concerns from the public.
Yeah, there's multiple, I mean, the general plan program EIR will have some of that data, that's a citywide document, but it talks about, Fox Hills and other neighborhoods in general. Our other departments in the city also have plans underway to improve and increase mobility and circulation options throughout Fox Hills, led by the Mobility Division of Public Works. I believe the commission and a lot of the community is aware the Planning and Development Department will be undertaking a specific plan process. So that's the next step in the planning process for both the Fox Hills neighborhood and the Hayden Tract neighborhood following the update of the general plan. So again, there's multiple lenses and documents and efforts that are coordinated at a city level that involve a great deal of public input that are ongoing to try and address traffic and circulation concerns in the community.
Okay. So as part of the general plan process, the whole document knows that there's this additional density coming, potentially more people.
Correct. And there's also a circulation element that's part of that document, so a separate chapter that addresses circulation and traffic in the city. That element is also being updated. Again, that document will be, the final version will be available next week with final hearings before the Planning Commission and the City Council in August.
Great. Thank you. And maybe before the end of the meeting, we can give out the dates for those to the...
Sure, and I was actually going to do that at the end of the meeting, but since we have folks here, I'm happy to do it once you're done with your discussion here.
Great, thanks. One final one, although this is in line with the other ones. Does an EIR take into account other developments that are upcoming and proposed?
I think that would be a question that the traffic consultant would want to address about that 1% I mentioned.
Okay, thanks.
Hi, Rich Gibson from Gibson Transportation. I did the traffic and parking study. And yes, absolutely. We take into account all known developments that are in the city of Culver City, in the city of LA, or in the county of LA that would add traffic to these intersections. So we take all of the known projects, we distribute their traffic from their driveways to all of our study intersections. And then on top of that, we take our existing counts and grow them up by 1% per year to reflect additional background growth. And that accounts for regional growth, places that get more popular as the economy improves, and accounts for these unknown projects that we know are going to come on sometime during our process. As you've heard, our EIR process is 18 months long. You're going to have a number of projects that come in and out of the city in that time. We have to set a starting line somewhere, and we set that at the MOU with the projects that are known at the time, and then we add that background growth to account for any unknown changes that might occur between the MOU and when we publish our document. So essentially, the related projects are sort of double counted in this, in that in theory, the related projects should be built into that model that we're getting that regional growth from. So those projects are in the model, and we're taking the exact numbers from those projects and distributing to the street. So it should be a very conservative look at what the traffic impacts are.
Okay, thanks. Anything else from staff on those questions, or we can move on? Okay, great, thanks. Okay, let's move on to our comments about the issue. Commissioner Brissett.
Thanks, everyone. I think I have a few comments. Number one, I really appreciated the townhomes along Buckingham. The scale seems to be appropriate for the neighborhood. The improvements along that stretch of Buckingham are significant in terms of landscaping and the townhomes. I appreciated the setbacks as well. And I think that this area, if you look around, low-density office, given where office is going, people not coming in, I think that, you know, a mix of residential, a mix of uses, having the cafes, actually it was more retail than I expected at this project. I think that's what this area needs.
Thanks. Commissioner Menti?
Well, thank you. I admit I also appreciated the townhomes on the ground floor level. You know, one of the problems of the way Fox Hills was developed originally is that most of these condominium complexes function like fortresses with moats, and the streets are distant from them. And we know that the construction we're going to see in the future is going to be more pedestrian and street oriented. So I'm glad that we're at least moving away from that. It's always concerning to see this much public unhappiness about a project. It always is. My understanding is that if we were here a year from now, most of this would be by right in all likelihood, because we expect the general plan to come through and to allow most of this by right. So I keep that in my mind as I think about what I'm going to do in this project. I listened to Mr. O'Neill, and I do wish I could tell the governor what to do. That would be enjoyable. And I sort of hope that Mr. Carr is right, that the cafe will be jam-packed. I think there is quite a bit of demand for this here. It's difficult to see these changes happen in front of you. I know I live in the downtown neighborhood. I've seen a lot of these changes. I'm expecting that we're going to see projects like this in the Hayden Tract at some point. That is also, in a sense, low-hanging fruit, underused commercial office parks, for want of a better word. Some of them derelict, and there will be change. So I'm prepared to move forward with this, but I am very concerned about the hours of operation. I'm concerned about the extra time on the weekends, especially because we are directly across the street from residences. So while I would be prepared to support the extended construction hours on the weekdays, I am not at this point prepared to support those same hours on the weekends, especially because I'm familiar with the way construction always runs long, and I'm skeptical that it will be as short a period as we all hope. So those are my comments.
Thank you. I guess first on just the aesthetics of the project, I would agree that it's nice looking and interesting, and I particularly like the sloping down as it goes downhill. It's a different facade with the townhomes. I want to agree with the comment about low bike parking. I met with the applicants also, and I made that comment in the meeting that, it's not even one per unit. A commenter suggesting 2 to 3. I imagine you probably can't redesign to add that much, but I think that it needs more bike parking. I know you have what the city requires, but especially if one of the theories of the project is that people don't need as many cars, they're going to need more bikes, so they need the parking for the bikes. On construction hours, I was, before the meeting, I read the request, and it sounded, if it's correct that it's more convenient to have a shortened length of construction time for a couple hours extra in the morning, that I heard from residents that were concerned with construction noise and concerned with the construction hours, but I didn't hear that people were concerned about that trade-off. I don't know, maybe they would prefer to have to shorten the construction time by 2 months as a trade-off for having more time in the morning. I wouldn't want to make that, I wouldn't want to, lengthen the construction time unless I was hearing that from residents specifically, I guess. But more generally on the density concerns, I agree that the purpose of these meetings is really, one of the purposes of the Planning Commission is not just as, Culver City residents on a commission to talk about planning, but also to hear, this is a public hearing. This is, your opportunity to talk to us about this project. Not your only opportunity, but it's your first opportunity in like this kind of public forum. What I heard over and over again is that there are these state-required housing units, and the vast majority of them shouldn't be all in one neighborhood, particularly a neighborhood that is already the most dense in Culver City and is, I'm trying to see if I wrote down the exact words that someone said. An area that was already historically, taken advantage of. This body has recommended that other areas of Culver City be increased in density, and that recommendation wasn't followed. With the state requirements for new housing units, it does. I mean, there's a 100% optimistic, happy view of more people, more jobs, more, kind of a vision of like abundance. But there's still pain with it. And I think what I'm hearing today is that it shouldn't all hit, the people in this room and your neighbors. But we do have these housing targets that we have to meet. And the plan that is in process and will be finalized by the end of this year has most of those units going in Fox Hills. And this is consistent with that. And part of this, there's a real big sticking point with me that's hard for me to deny is that part of that housing requirement is 1,100 units of very low-income housing. And I was trying to pull up our progress report. I think we've only reported 73 units of very low-income housing so far. And I think those are all at Project Home Key. And you know, we're already 3 years into our 8-year cycle. So the crisis is especially urgent at that low end, and I don't think I can deny 27 units of very low-income housing. One thing I recommend that I say this whenever there's affordable housing before us, and I don't know if it's ever followed, and maybe I can push it to staff, but that I think the affordability covenant should be perpetual. I've read about this, that research shows it doesn't affect investment or feasibility between a 55-year covenant or a perpetual covenant, but a 55-year covenant is just a ticking time bomb. It's a huge problem. When that expires, we just lose affordable housing like that. And if we are going to build 1,100 units in the next 4 years of very low-income housing, it would be a shame if in 55 years they all just disappeared. I'm not asking for a condition of approval or anything, but I think that's important. And I think those are my comments. I would approve or recommend approval of everything, including the construction hours. But I wonder if I can get clarification from staff about if the construction hours exception requires all three of our vote to recommend.
In order to make a recommendation of approval or denial of the City Council, we would need 3 affirmative votes from the Planning Commission. If the vote ended up less than that, 2-1 or 1-2, what I would propose is that this be transmitted to the City Council, saying that the Planning Commission could not agree on a recommendation on the extended hours and describing what the issues were.
Okay.
And then also, Chair, the public hearing is still open if you'd like to close it.
I would love to close it. Thank you for the reminder. Could I have a motion to close the public hearing, please? I always forget. And a second.
Can I have a second, please?
Actually, before we close public hearings, I'm sorry. I see someone in the audience who came in late, and there are enough people that are concerned with this. Before we close the public hearing, could we hear from this last person? She just raised her hand, and I saw you come in late. Is that? I would like to allow her to speak unless anyone has an objection up here. Okay. For 3 minutes, please,
Yeah.
and.
Thank you very much. As we stand together, I'm from Fox Hills. I'm from the Fox Hills Alliance. I'm a 40-year resident of Culver City. As we stand together in Fox Hills, we're faced with a critical issue that challenges the very fabric of our community: affordable housing. This is not just a matter of policy or numbers. It is about fairness, equity, and the kind of city we want to be. Fox Hills is the most racially diverse area of our city and has always embraced inclusivity and opportunity. Yet, despite our willingness to do our part, we're not NIMBYs, we find ourselves shouldering a disproportionate burden when it comes to the city's mandatory housing requirement of 3,341 units. We're going to
burden nearly, or assume nearly 2,700 units of our already densely populated area. This imbalance is stark and unjust. Let's take a moment to consider the missed opportunities and injustices that have occurred. The old fire station on Seagull, once a community asset, was replaced by $3 million properties instead of much-needed affordable housing. The Culver City Crest property, which was used by the fire department for rehearsals and department drills, was sold at a fraction of its value, only to be transformed into a luxury home, which was showcased on HGTV and cost nearly $3 million. These decisions reflect a pattern where wealthy, predominantly white neighborhoods have been able to evade their responsibility to accommodate affordable housing. Meanwhile, Fox Hills and other diverse neighborhoods like ours are left to bear the brunt of the city's housing needs. It's time for change. Please, it's time for the city to prioritize equity and fairness in housing distribution. Every neighborhood, regardless of wealth or demographics, must contribute its fair share to provide affordable housing options for all residents. Fox Hills stands ready to do our part, and we should not be expected to carry the bulk of this responsibility alone. We urge you, our city leaders, to do the right thing, enforce policies that ensure every neighborhood plays its role in providing affordable housing. It's just not a matter of legal obligations, it's about social justice and creating a city where everyone has a place to call home. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Chair, I just would like to state, Angelica Kishnick signed up a third time, but she's not registered to, she's not on the WebEx, so we can't call her.
Okay.
I just wanted to mention that.
Okay, thank you. So we have no, it says moved by, no seconder required.
No.
My
That was
iPad
it.
is not working at the moment. It's in a weird state.
I'll take a voice vote, a voice motion.
So a motion to close the public hearing, please.
Okay. Thank you. Moved by Commissioner Mente, second by Commissioner Brissette. Please vote.
I can't vote.
Go ahead. I'll take a voice.
Aye.
Okay, thank you. Commissioner Brissette, thank you. Motion passes with 3 ayes.
Thanks. Okay. Commissioner Mente, would you like to take the extended hours request separately and we can note our comments about it?
Well, I was curious if Commissioner Brissette had any thoughts as to it.
On the construction hours? I was okay with the extended hours, with the 2-month reduction in time.
Okay.
I'll withdraw my objection.
Then could I have a motion to, I'll read it out. Motion that the Planning Commission recommend the City Council certify the project EIR, adopt CEQA required findings, adopt the mitigation monitoring and reporting program, and adopt a statement of overriding considerations as stated in resolution number 2024-P004, attachment number 1, and approve comprehensive plan, density, and other bonus incentives, general plan map amendment, and zoning code map amendment P2023-0218-CP-DOBI-GPMA-ZCMA, creating planned development number 18, subject to the conditions of approval as stated in resolution number 2024-P005, attachment number 2, and approve an extended construction hours request, subject to the conditions of approval as stated in resolution number 2022-P006, attachment number 3.
Can I have a second, please? I'm missing a second. Okay, I think I got it. Thank you. Moved by, oh, go ahead.
One moment, please.
We have a request that you update, one of the resolution numbers that you read in was P2024-002, is that correct, Mark? And instead it should be 004.
No. Attachment 3, approving an extended construction hours request subject to conditions of approval as stated in resolution number 2024 P006. Thank you.
Do I say anything? I need to say that, or you've done it? Thank you.
We've corrected it.
So now we can vote.
So we have moved by Commissioner Brissette, second by Commissioner Menthe. Thank you. Please vote. Thank you. Motion passes with 3 ayes.
Thank you. Now we'll move on to action items A1, selection of the chair and vice chair, and selection of the committee members. Do we have a staff report, or should we just do it? Okay. Okay, we'll start with selecting chair.
Although I do have something I wanted to add.
Yes, please.
Andy Railman, the vice chair, current vice chair, excuse me, is out of the country, but he asked me to read this following statement. Please express my interest and honor to serve as chair for my final year on the commission. I would be proud to lead our team and work through the coming docket and see the work we have done on the general plan, see through the work we have done on the general plan.
Thank you. Anyone can jump in with.
Well, it's our custom that the vice chair will become the chair when that's possible. And I would move that we select Commissioner Ryland to be the next chair.
I would second that nomination. Do you have any comments? Sorry.
Nope.
Okay.
I agree.
We're having we need someone to move for the motion?
What's that?
Or are we waiting? Oh, got it. Okay. I was waiting for the motions. Thank you. Moved by Commissioner Menthe, second by Chair Jones. Please vote.
I'm going to hit yes, but the motion looks a little weird here.
Got it. Thank you. Motion passes with 3 ayes.
And then we'll move on to vice chair. Would either of you are you either of you interested in becoming vice chair?
Well, I would be.
Then I would move to nominate you for vice chair. To nominate Commissioner Menthe for vice chair.
I second that.
Oh, I guess we press the button.
Thank you. Moved by Chair Jones, second by Commissioner Brissette. Please vote. Thank you. Motion passes with 3 ayes.
And so my understanding from staff is that we were required to do chair and vice chair tonight, but that for the Board of Zoning adjustment, we could do that the next meeting. And I would recommend continuing the committee assignment until the next meeting so that we have everybody here, if that makes sense. Any objections? Okay. Then could I have a motion, please, to continue the Board of Zoning adjustment assignment to the next meeting? Should I say what date it is?
July 24th?
Thank you. July 24th, 2024.
Thank you. Moved by Commissioner Brissett, second by Commissioner Mente. Please vote. Thank you. Motion passes with 3 ayes.
Great, thank you. Are there?
Good evening, Chair. Mark Munzer again. One point that I wanted to make, I certainly didn't want it to be part of your conversation, but, staff does continue in terms of your expression of the number of affordable units as a part of our APR report. And we do constantly monitor our approved residential applications, our entitled residential applications, our applications that are under review, as well as pre-application. That number, and of course, can change because those are different statuses. But right now, we have 541 affordable units in some level of review. Of that, 370 are low income or very low income. So of course, these projects, again, some of them are entitled, some of them are in for permit, larger ones are still in pre-development review, but I did just want to make you aware of that number that we're monitoring, which of course we're hopeful comes to fruition.
Thank you.
Secondly, what I wanted to mention, can you pull that up, Ruth? Thank you. So staff and our consultants have been very busy finalizing, if we could stay on that image for just a second, finalizing the general plan document, including all of the elements, including land use, excluding housing, which has already been approved. And these you will start to see all over the community on light posts as street decals. We want to get the visibility out there as much as possible that these are coming for final decisions before the Planning Commission and for the City Council. Again, for the Planning Commission, it's on August 14th, and then City Council, it's August 26th. QR code, of course, takes you to the project website, picture culvercity.com. Staff has also been at a number of community events, the Movies in the Park, the concert series, Pride, Juneteenth. Will be a La Fiesta, which actually falls, in between the Planning Commission and the City Council. So at a number of events to encourage engagement as much as possible. If we could move to the next image too. We will also be doing a citywide mailer. So this postcard will go to every address in the city. That also has the QR code on there to drive as much traffic as possible to the project website, as well as the specific dates for the hearings. So wanted to take this opportunity to continuously get that out there. Of course, as I've said before, we're open to any other input to try and get as much engagement as possible prior to the hearings.
Did you say you're putting these on lamp posts?
Similarly as to how they're done, they were done for Better Overland and the Fox Hills Public Works Initiative. So on different light poles, I guess I should say. They'd be wrapped around it. It's being done in coordination with Public Works. Do you have a concern?
Well, when we see things taped up on the lampposts downtown, we rip them off. As they
Well,
are
I would
considered
request-
graffiti. So as long as we have a plan to remove them when they're done.
Actually, that's Commissioner, that's been part of the conversation. Clearly by the timeline, we're only about a month out, which is another reason why we have received feedback that, it can't just be events, it just can't be online as people are going to dinner and walking their dogs and hanging out with their family and friends and waiting at a stoplight, they can pull up the QR code. So it's another thing we're trying to do.
There's a plan to remove them, though.
Absolutely.
Okay.
For sure.
That's what nobody else ever has.
Okay, I promise.
I think both of those are great. Really to the point. I love the QR code. And yeah, well done. Those-
Thank you. That's all I have.
I just wanted to thank Chair Jones for his service over the last year. It's been great working together, and I look forward to you staying on the commission and many more meetings together.
Thank you.
I also want to just give you a little update on the July 24th meeting. We're going to have a handful of projects. We have a 2-unit condo project on Helms. We have changes to the fueling station and parking lot at the Costco. We have a correction to the Ivy Station track map, and we have Planning Commission's half-yearly report, which we'll go over and prep for presentation at City Council.
Great. Thank you. Any items from members?
Well, I'll be taking time to thank you for your service as the chair when we have everyone here next time.
And I think actually, I think I was supposed to get up out. I think you were supposed to take over. I've totally forgot to do that. So I will. We don't need to switch places, or do we? But you can call to adjourn the meeting. Oh, welcome to Commissioner Brissett as well. Do you have any items that you want to share while we're here? No? Yeah, we're glad to have you. Okay.
So is it my job as vice chair, because the chair is not
Yes.
here, stepping in to say, may I have a motion to adjourn?
Commissioner Jones, seconded by Commissioner Brissett. Please vote. Thank you. Motion to adjourn passes with 3 ayes.
We are adjourned at, looks like 9:53.
Correct. Thank you.
8:53, my goodness, okay.